Frozen ground killed more soldiers in World War II than most people realize, not through dramatic battlefield moments, but slowly, quietly, and often without warning. Men went to sleep exhausted and never woke up, not because of enemy fire, but because the cold pulled heat from their bodies faster than they could replace it. Before we go any further, subscribe to Pass to Survive and share this with anyone who studies military history seriously, because what follows is not common knowledge. These are sleeping methods developed by soldiers who learned, often brutally, that how you sleep in freezing conditions determines whether you survive the night. These were not comfort techniques, they were survival systems. One of the first lessons soldiers learned was that the ground was more dangerous than the air. Frozen earth acts like a heat sink, pulling warmth from the body continuously. Many early casualties came from men who wrapped themselves tightly but lay directly on cold soil. Experienced troops understood that insulation beneath the body mattered more than anything placed on top. Pine branches, dry grass, straw-spare uniforms, empty ration boxes, and even dismantled packs were layered under sleeping positions. The goal was not comfort, but separation. Any material that created an air gap between flesh and ground drastically slowed heat loss. In modern survival terms, this principle remains unchanged. Even cardboard, rope coils, or layered clothing placed beneath you can preserve body heat far more effectively than, say, just adding an extra jacket. Soldiers also learned to sleep with their boots on or directly beneath their bodies. Removing boots seemed logical at first, but it often led to frostbite or boots freezing solid overnight. Veterans placed boots under their thighs or torso, keeping them warm enough to remain usable by morning. A man who could not put his boots back on at dawn was, well, effectively immobilized. The survival lesson here is simple. Critical gear must be kept within your body's heat envelope. Today, this applies to footwear, electronics, or tools that must function immediately upon waking in cold environments. Body positioning became another quiet discipline. Soldiers avoided sleeping flat on their backs when possible. Curling slightly reduced exposed surface area and conserved heat. Some units slept back to back, sharing warmth through direct contact while maintaining awareness. This was not comfort-driven behavior, but calculated heat management. In survival situations today, controlled positioning and shared warmth can significantly reduce calorie burn overnight. Moisture control was treated as a priority equal to warmth. Wet clothing, even slightly damp fabric, increased heat loss dramatically. Soldiers learned to change socks before sleeping, even if it meant wearing less insulation temporarily. Damp socks were dried against the body or tucked inside clothing layers overnight. Sweat was as dangerous as snow. The lesson still applies even today. Staying dry preserves heat better than just piling on wet layers. Sleep timing was deliberately managed. Soldiers rarely slept immediately after heavy exertion because rapid cooling after sweating increased hypothermia risk. Instead, men waited until their bodies stabilized, ate small rations, and then rested. Digestion produced internal heat, making sleep safer. In modern survival practice, eating before rest remains a critical heat management strategy. Many soldiers avoided deep sleep entirely. They actually trained themselves to rest in short cycles, waking frequently to adjust their position, check circulation, and, maintain awareness. This prevented the dangerous drop in body temperature that was often associated with prolonged immobility. Controlled rest cycles are still used in extreme cold training today. Awareness, not uninterrupted sleep, was really the goal. Head insulation was treated as non-negotiable. Soldiers understood that heat loss through the head was severe, especially when lying still. Helmets were padded, caps were worn, and even improvised head coverings were used just to make sure they stayed warm. Some soldiers wrapped spare cloth around their necks and heads, sealing heat inside. In modern survival conditions, covering the head remains one of the most efficient ways to retain warmth during rest. Breathing discipline was another learned behavior. Soldiers avoided breathing directly into blankets or clothing, which created moisture that froze and reduced insulation. Instead, they positioned their faces to allow breath to escape while maintaining coverage elsewhere. This small adjustment prevented ice buildup and preserved warmth through the night. Today, managing condensation inside sleeping systems remains a critical cold weather skill. Finally, soldiers learned to treat sleep as a tactical activity, not recovery alone. Positions were chosen based on wind direction, terrain shielding, and escape routes. Sleeping against natural barriers like embankments, fallen trees, or trenches reduced wind exposure. Men positioned themselves so they could rise and move instantly if needed. Survival depended on waking functional, not rested. These sleeping methods were not written into manuals because they were learned through loss. They spread quietly from veteran to recruit, shaped by nights that separated survivors from casualties. If this kind of grounded, experience-driven history matters to you, subscribe to Past to Survive and share this with others who understand that World War II was not only fought with weapons, but with discipline, adaptation, and the ability to survive the night on frozen ground.